Chelsea Football Club have weighed in and made their first move towards trying to sign Raphinha from Leeds United. According to Fabrizio Romano, they have received a direct call from Todd Boehly to attempt to get this deal done, dusted, and of course over the line. But it's a very complex, and in Fabrizio's own words, it is a crazy, crazy deal. Barcelona have agreed terms since February with the attacker. Chelsea are reported by David Ornstein to be the favourite of Raphinha in the Premier League. Arsenal have the most open space in many people's eyes in their squad and have been the first side to make a direct official bid for the player. Most agree that he is happy to join Arsenal. Personal terms have been no problem, and Spurs are still lurking in the background, ready to submit a bid. The deal is on with all four clubs. We're going to take a look at what Fabrizio Romano has had to say. I want your views and opinions. We're going to take a look at some of the other journalists as well. Their 10 penneth has been thrown in, but the Raphinha deal could be the big saga of the summer 2022 transfer window. Let's go. One of the biggest taglines of Fabrizio's article is that Mikel Arteta is in love with Raphinha, but it's hard to predict this crazy transfer saga. It absolutely is. The Raphinha situation is truly the craziest in recent years. Barcelona have had an agreement with the Brazilian on personal terms since February, but the idea of offering 40 million is far from the demands that Leeds want 40 million euros, but Leeds now wants 65 million pounds. And that is where this becomes a very interesting transfer indeed. Every day I get tweets, every day I get comments from Barcelona fans saying, why do journalists continue to spread this nonsense that we don't have the money required to sign the players we're chasing? I think people are saying it because you still haven't registered players that you have done deal and almost completed agreements with for 3 or 4 months. Until Barcelona start actually making bids for players they want to buy, until they start registering players, people are always going to push out this notion, this narrative that something isn't quite right, isn't quite where it should be at Barcelona. That has opened up the door, of course, where Arsenal have slipped in. Arsenal have made that official bid. Now, it has been rejected, according to David Ornstein, but it's expected that Arsenal, they are negotiating, will go back in and attempt to buy him again. Now, what's very interesting is listening to what Fabrizio Romano has had to say today, and that is that Todd Boehly has laid down a call. He's made a direct call to explore what's going on. Spurs are, of course, preparing that proposal, and Chelsea have explored the situation with a direct call from Todd Boehly. It's an interesting article that goes on to speak about the situation in more detail. We'll come back onto that in just a few moments' time. Chelsea Football Club are interested in this, though, and that's who we're mainly focusing on. So for me, through what I've read, through the journalists that I've had the pleasure of speaking to, when you look at the news that's kind of come out in recent times, Raheem Sterling, Ousmane Dembele appear to be far more favourable targets of Chelsea Football Club. But of course, this isn't how the transfer market works in reality. Chelsea are still looking at Raphinha. It doesn't matter that they may place 1 or 2 players above him. He is certainly a player that Chelsea would like. He is certainly a player that would improve Chelsea. He's certainly a player that would, in most people's opinions, even looking at the new Chelsea board and the football club, be more potent, more dangerous, and more successful than the likes of Hakim Ziyech and Callum Hudson-Odoi have been in recent years. And we always speak about the fluidity of the transfer market. And I think we've gone through this period now where football fans almost want to deny that this exists. Football fans almost want to pretend like they almost want to create this delusion in their minds that players essentially, it's one club mainly in for a player. It might be two, but he's always had his heart set on one place. They never really review, as we always call it now, the fluidity of the market, the fact that Raphinha might end up agreeing personal terms with 3 or 4 teams. Wait to see what clubs submit the best offers, and then review them and go, right, yes, I like them all. They're all of an acceptable level, but the one that is the best is going to be X. It's pretty much how the majority of the general public pick jobs. You know, I'm applying for this new job at Lloyds Bank. I'm applying for this job at HSBC. And there's this promotion actually internally at Barclays. You weigh all the job options up. You review your future, and then you make your decision. This is very much how footballers at times also consider their next move. So Chelsea is certainly in for him. Raphinha to Chelsea is certainly on, but it isn't the priority for Chelsea. This is why Arsenal have this, for me, a bit of a stronghold right now on this transfer. They've got the place in their squad for him because he'll be the best attacker at Arsenal instantly. He absolutely will. He'll be given a starting berth within that team. Yes, he might be bled in for a few games, but he will be a starter for Arsenal, no shadow of a doubt. They are dropping or calling their interest in Youri Tielemans. They're dropping that intense pursuit to make way for the Raphinha deal. All of this will massage the ego of a player. Wow, Arsenal really want me. Chelsea are interested, but Sterling and Dembele are priorities, according to most people. Barca are likely to go after Bernardo Silva, Lewandowski, and a number of others before me. So how much do they really want me to be part of their plans? This gives Arsenal an absolute brilliant opportunity. Now, looking at this here, this is from Dean Jones, who spoke exclusively to Give Me Sport, who said he was talking about Raheem Sterling and Ousmane Dembele. What about them both joining at the same time? He says it's plausible, and I think that it's really interesting now to look how Chelsea are going to get more goals in their team. Raheem Sterling does have a pretty good goal output for somebody who is not an actual centre forward, but I think he's potentially something they are looking at here. You also, of course, had the big report that came out from Damasio, who reported Chelsea were confident of signing Raheem Sterling for a potential 35 million. Now, there have been reports from the UK that cost is going to be a little bit higher. Now, what's intriguing about the Man City situation is there's so many interconnected transfers here. There's no wonder some of these deals are taking a little bit longer to complete than many of us would like for our clubs. It's been very well reported by Ben Jacobs that City want a minimum £90 million for Gabriel Jesus and Raheem Sterling combined. So it makes sense to me for Arsenal and Chelsea to delay their bid. Who's going to crack first? And I'll give you an example. Because if Arsenal did pay the 55 million initially that Man City wanted, it makes Raheem Sterling available for a lot less. Because City have set a marker, we need to bring 90 million in for the two. That will probably have something to do with balancing books, FFP, covering costs of other players they're buying, a minimum of. Equally, if Chelsea go, right, we need to get some signings in. Okay, look, we'll pay 50 million for Sterling. It means that Arsenal are more likely to get a more favourable deal. Now, it might be the difference of £5 million. But as we speak about a lot on the terrace, and most other channels don't push this, but it's the truth. Saving £5 million on average across 5 signings gives you an extra £25 million to spend in the transfer market. This notion that we shouldn't care how much our clubs spend because it's not our money is the most ridiculous fan nonsense I've ever heard in my life. I used to say it. And then you start to realize, essentially, we're okaying the burning of cash. It's weird, right? Absolutely weird. There are times where you have to be happy to pay it because you have to get a deal over the line. Like, if you don't want to pay 50 million, you want to pay 40, but then competition comes in and they're willing to pay 50, you're forced into doing it. But that's different from being able to drive that price down, having the leeway to do it. And these things have to be looked at. But it's certainly an interesting transfer window. Gabriel Jesus on the edge of being completed at Arsenal Football Club. What knock-on effect does that have for the Raheem Sterling deal? If Raheem Sterling goes to Chelsea, will they still look at Raphinha? Will they keep pushing forward? Of course, Boehly's already made that initial phone call. If Ousmane Dembele signs this deal at Barcelona that was reported just 24 hours ago, and they bring Raheem Sterling in, do Chelsea then up their pursuit of Raphinha. If Chelsea come in all guns blazing, Thomas Tuchel is the manager, Champions League football. Does that blow Arsenal out of the water? What if Barca get their financial situation in gear and they come back in? Of course, personal terms agreed since February. But of course, we are also forgetting that Tottenham Hotspur are also weighing up a bid. Gianluigi here speaking about Tottenham are willing to pay up to £60 million, which, if that bid goes in, would be the highest bid made to Leeds United so far. And I think from my point of view, I'm making, and I'm saying this now, Ornstein has said Barca, Chelsea, followed by Arsenal and Tottenham. And I think that's a fair point. But it doesn't look like right now, 23rd of June, Barcelona are still not really motoring forward. Fabrizio has said decision might be made in the next few days. And if we're talking about the next 3 or 4 days where Raphinha wants to make his decision, pre-season is starting very, very soon. He might want to beat his new club early. Chelsea is still deliberating 2 or 3 priorities ahead of Raphinha. Tottenham haven't made the official bid, although they say they're preparing one. Arsenal Football Club have. They're gearing up potentially for a second bid here. I look at Arsenal still as a slight front runners for this. As it stands of now, the situation is fluid. The situation can change. But I want your views. I want your opinions on this. Smash that like button. Leave your comments below. There's your updates from, of course, Fabrizio, from Ornstein, from Gianluigi, and many other journalists, including the brilliant Dean Jones and Ben Jacobs. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless.